I mean, I'm playing that by ear.
Welcome to Jets Rewind and JetsRewind.com. I'm Marty Shupak in Valley Cottage, New York. I'm joined by my very good friend Ray Clifford in Marysville, Ohio. Excuse me, we're recording this at 8:05 p.m., about 35 minutes after the Jets just lost to the Buffalo Bills, 27-10. The Bills clinched first place in the AFC East. Congratulations to Coach McDermott and the whole team. And Ray, how are you doing?
Doing good. I mean, didn't expect a lot. Actually, that was a better game than I expected, and the score doesn't tell you how close it was. So, yeah, I mean, there were a lot of positives, but there are a few negatives that really irritate the hell out of me. But we can get into that as we go.
Yeah, the question I have for you, Ray, I wish somebody could tell me where Bryce Hall was today because
He
he's
wasn't on the field, I'll say that.
boy, talk about coming up with a zero the last game
Yeah.
of the year. He was just awful.
Name whoever they had him covering, and that's who they picked on.
It was unbelievable. He was terrible all day, and
Yeah.
on that
He
goal
got
line
burned a lot.
touchdown, he had a chance, a free shot for lost yardage, and I don't know what was going on with him. And also, look, we know that their backups on the offensive line are weak. We know Connor McDermott is weak. Feeney is weak. He held his own last week. But when you put all those weak guys together, you're going to get what we got today with the Jets, all those sacks.
Oh, yeah.
And the way the game went, it's a testament to Robert Saleh, Aldrich, and the coaching staff. I won't mention LaFleur because I know I kept getting X-rated
Oh,
texts from Ray and LaFleur. But really, when you're playing a team and you are outmanned talent-wise, usually what happens is if you're coached well, you'll play with the team for like 2 or 3 quarters, and then the cream rises to the top. They just wear you down, and that's what happened with the Jets. I mean, there was a time where during the game, Josh Allen really couldn't make a pass, but then in the third quarter, but then he started making some big plays. He ran for a big play, but it is what it is. And look, the Jets now they draft fourth and 10th, Ray, officially.
yeah. Seattle pulled that one out. So,
Seattle pulled it out, and I don't think it's awful. I just don't think there's such a huge difference between drafting seventh or drafting 10th. But one thing I learned, Ray, and again, I was for the last few weeks, I was drinking the Kool-Aid with the wide receivers and all that, but they have to solidify this offensive line, not just starters. They got to get depth, Ray. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Because Zach Wilson, you say whatever you want about Zach Wilson, that when he scrambled, he turned the wrong way. He lost sight of the rushers coming on, and maybe he could have avoided some of those sacks. He didn't have a chance the whole game, Ray. Not at
No,
all.
I thought that, a few times I definitely put it on him that he tried to extend the play too long and he could have thrown it away. One in particular, and Pinheiro bailed him out with a 49-yard field goal, but he took an 11-yard loss because he ran around so long that he ended up stepping out of bounds 11 yards back because he didn't have a chance to throw the ball away after he scrambled around so much that they were all over him. But all in all, I thought, this is why, I said to you about LaFleur and the things I did, because I hate to bring up this name, but he reminds me a lot of Adam Gase. When things are going good, LaFleur looks great calling plays when things are going good. It's when they aren't going good that he bothers the hell out of me. You can't continue to call the same plays when the defense on the other team is blowing them all up. You have to be able to adjust your play calling to how the defense on the other side is playing you. And he kept calling the same kind of play. Drop back, look for 2 or 3 reads. Well, he didn't have time. He was under pressure usually within a few seconds. You either got to get more quick receivers in there. And apparently when Barrios is in the game compared to when he's not, he loses all sense of ingenuity. No, not very many real different kind of plays. He tried one that kind of blew up because it didn't get executed well. But all in all, he just called the same stuff all game long without a lot of adjustment, and it just drives me nuts because a coordinator adjusts to the game.
He does, but Ray, when you look at it, if you saw, I sent you a text towards the end of the game that the Jet receivers were Jeff Smith, Denzel Mims, and Tariq Black, and the offensive line was composed
Who,
of.
by the way, made one of the best catches of the year.
He did make a catch. He also, I thought he dropped the pass. They didn't show the replay, but there was another pass.
Yeah.
Zach threw it in there.
Yeah.
It was a very good catch, the first one. He's a guy from Connecticut, by the way. And then on the offensive line at the same time, they had Connor McDermott, Dan Feeney, and Shuma Adoga. I kind of think, Ray, and I know you're going to don't hit the roof, that Michael LaFleur kind of has a little bit of a pass this game just because of what he had to work with. Nothing was getting going at all.
Yeah.
Everything they tried didn't work. I said, let's try a screen. And actually in the fourth quarter they did, and it didn't even develop. I mean,
but why are you waiting until the fourth quarter to try a screen? They should have been trying to screen several times, different kinds of screens. They should have been trying quick hitters. Everything to me looked the same. I mean, I don't know what he called, but when the play was in action, it looked the same to me. Drop back, run for your life, and try and find somebody downfield or throw it away. That was Zach's, offensive output.
Right. Ray, you got to check something. You want? I can go through the stats.
I'll be right back.
Go ahead. All right, just to go through the stats quickly. Zach Wilson was 7 for 20, 87 yards, one touchdown, and to be honest with you, out of those 87 yards, one was a 40-yard TD pass to Keenan Cole. So it's a little skewed. He rushed twice for 24 yards. Michael Carter rushed 9 times for 19 yards. Nothing was there. Nothing was there at all with him. Tevin Coleman 5 times for 6 yards. Ty Johnson 1 time for -1. On the receiving end, Keenan Cole caught 3 passes, 54 yards. I mentioned 1 for 40 yards, and it was a touchdown. Interestingly, he was targeted 3 times and he caught 3 passes. Crowder, 1 pass for 16. Tariq Black, 1 pass for 10. Tyler Croft, 1 pass for 5. He dropped the pass. Jeff Smith, 1 for 2. He probably played his last game as a Jet. And
maybe.
Yeah, and I'd say that's about it. Denzel Mims didn't catch a pass. He was targeted twice and he went off sides. I don't want to see him in a Jet uniform again. It just didn't work out. I mean, he might end up being an All-Pro, whatever. I just don't want to see him back here. Interestingly, on the defense, C.J. Mosley had 13 total tackles, 12 solo, which is unbelievable. Pinnock, 6 tackles, 4 solo. Echols.
By the way, we're mispronouncing his name apparently.
Pinnock.
Yeah.
Pinnock. Yeah,
I didn't know that till like a couple of games ago.
Right. Echols 4 solo tackles. Queenan Williams 3 solo tackles. I thought he played a good game. Nathan Shepard had a good first half.
Yes, he did.
Elijah Riley, I don't know what he's doing sometimes. Sometimes he looks like he's exactly where he should be.
Yeah,
Sometimes
he's inconsistent.
He looks so lost
like
out
him.
there. Bryce Hall 4 solo tackles, but what's the difference? He wasn't even there.
Yeah, 4 solo tackles and burned about 10 times.
Right. Quincy Williams, I'll say this. I thought the first half he was awful. I thought the second half he played very well. I really did.
He had his moments. He got beat a couple of times in the first half on some moves, but he's one of those guys that you gotta take what you get from him. And usually it's like he's going all out and he's making plays to change the game, and sometimes it goes against him.
Right. And that's it. We had Phillips had 2 tackles, Rankins too. We have a guy named Wild Goose on our team.
Yes, I do.
he just so you know, his name is Rashad Wild Goose, number 29.
Yeah.
From Wisconsin. So I don't
That's
know.
weird. I don't even remember him on Wisconsin, but okay.
He probably didn't play. But Ray, I want to talk about that first touchdown pass because it was an interesting play where the Jets flushed out Josh Allen to the right. And at first I thought they were going to get him. Then when he got to the outside, he threw a pass. I actually thought he was throwing it away. But sure enough, it was caught by my buddy. What's his name? The good player, receiver.
Diggs.
Diggs. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe it. I said, geez, what a pass.
Yeah.
Then I said, wait a minute, was that guy in bounds? And they called him at first out of bounds, right?
Yep.
And then I guess Buffalo threw the flag, which I never saw. Everything was a
No, they
little,
didn't.
it
No,
was a
they
little
didn't.
gray to me over there.
They conferred and changed the call, so they didn't have to. They changed it to a touchdown, so they didn't have to throw the flag.
Well, this is
And
what
so
I
then
don't
it was an
understand.
automatic replay.
Well, this is what I don't understand. And explain it to me. All touchdowns are reviewed.
Mm-hmm.
That play, they called it at first, was not a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they called on the field. Why was it reviewed if it wasn't a touchdown?
It wasn't reviewed until they conferred with each other and then changed the call to a touchdown on the field.
Oh, they changed it to a
They
touchdown.
changed it to a touchdown. That's what you saw them doing. You thought they had reviewed it. They hadn't. They
Right.
conferred and said it's a touchdown. Then it automatically got reviewed and they
Oh.
still called it a touchdown, but it wasn't.
You maintain why. Tell the fans of Jets Rewind why it wasn't
Well,
a touchdown.
if you watch it in fast motion, you can't even tell for sure. But in slow motion, he's dragging the first foot as he's catching the ball. Where it becomes questionable is just because the ball is touching his fingers or his hands doesn't mean at that moment he has control of the ball. And if you really, and I mean, I slowed it down to frame by frame on my, before they even came back with the review, I was like, did that foot stay on the ground? And honestly, I think whatever they called, they would have stuck with. If they had not turned it around to a touchdown and called it incomplete, Buffalo would have had to throw the flag. And I think they would have stuck with incomplete because I think my opinion only, but that the ref couldn't tell if his first foot had come off the ground when he got control of the ball. But if you really, in my opinion, it clearly was coming off the ground after he gained control of the ball, which was only a split second, but it was almost like as he's catching it is when his toe is coming up. So when he's got a firm grasp with two hands on the ball, at that point, it becomes control. And interesting thing was when they were talking with Gene Steratore about his opinion, he was saying that control is not when you touch it, it's when you get control of the ball. And he was saying what they've got to do. He was saying exactly that. What they've got to try and determine is, did he gain control with that first foot still on the ground? And as he was saying it, the ref came on and called it a touchdown. I would have liked to hear Gene Steratore's opinion of, would he have called that a touchdown or incomplete? I never really remember hearing him say that because by then the ref called it a touchdown and everybody started cheering. He was still talking, but I didn't hear what he said. But in my opinion, it was not a catch. It should have been stayed incomplete, and they would have settled for a field goal.
Ray, I try not to really put anything on the referees, or I always say, play the game, so you don't put it in the hands of the refs.
Yeah.
But this year, I don't know if it's my Jet persecution complex or what. It just seemed like so many calls go against them, and they're never conferred or whatever. I'll give you an example. You mentioned Gene, what's his name?
Steratore.
There was a game, if you remember, where it was like a 4th and 1. And on the field, they said the Jets stopped the ball and the opposition threw the flag. And then they looked at the film, they reviewed it, and they gave him a first down.
Yeah.
And Gene comes on, he says, I've never seen that he said what they're supposed to do is
Measure.
show where the spot is and remeasure it. He said, I've
Yeah.
never seen that happen.
Yeah.
And I just see that over and over and over again. And Ray, you and me have talked off the air how bad the refereeing is on a whole in the
It is.
NFL and also in college football.
Yeah. But it's because they aren't full timers, is a lot of it. It's not like baseball where there's so many games, the refs are basically always, the umps are always in baseball mode. These guys go back to doing bank, CEOs of banks and whatever they do during the week, and then they come in on Sunday and play referee. But I think what happens is they should be going through training year round between games during the week. It should be consistent, and consistency is what's missing the most.
Right.
And that's the problem. It's kind of like a baseball umpire. Batters don't care, or pitchers don't care if you have a wide strike zone, narrow strike zone. Just call it the same so they know what to expect. And when you can't do it from one play to the next, when one time it's a holding and the next time it's not, or one time it's interference and the next time they let it go, these guys don't know what to do.
Right. Ray, and you and Ralph are a lot better off at recalling plays. But the one play that sticks in my mind, and I'm not sure if it was during the game I saw with you against Atlanta in London, where it was a third down play. Quincy Williams was like a few inches away from the quarterback.
Yeah.
The quarterback released the ball. There was no way he could stop his momentum. He did not hit him in the helmet. He just hit him. They called roughing the passer.
Roughing because he landed on him too hard. That's the dumbest, thing ever, that you're supposed to somehow, as a guy the size of these guys are, ease up on how hard you knock them into the ground. And it's inconsistencies like that. It keeps drives going.
Right.
Now, as bad as we played in London, it probably wouldn't have mattered, but that was the first drive of the game and we would have been off the field. And who knows, maybe that changes the momentum and things, but it's things like that.
And
keep drives going.
And today you had made the comment to me that it was roughing, personal foul when they hit Josh Allen out of bounds, but it looked like they weren't going to call it because towards the end of the game,
Right.
And then he started crying about it, a la Tom Brady.
Yeah.
And of course they throw a late flag.
Right. But it was the right call. I mean,
it was the right call, just the way it happened. But are we going to start to get these calls as Robert Saleh gains experience and gets a reputation
Maybe.
as a coach?
I mean, I think reputation has a lot to do with their calls too. All right, I'm going to be right back.
Yeah. So anyway, just in case people haven't heard, the Patriots, they lost to the Miami Dolphins, but it wouldn't matter because the Buffalo Bills, whether if they beat the Jets, it doesn't matter if the Patriots won. And it actually today it made Ray Clifford and Ralph Schrager happy because Mac Jones threw a pick six. And I know me and them argue all the time about that. But going back to the Buffalo game today, though, and the Bills, they were putting on tremendous pressure. They've had a tremendous amount of sacks today. I think it was like 8 or 9, but they have a excellent defense. And one of my favorites was Ed Oliver, who we chose Quentin Williams over him on a defensive line, but he's a heck of a player. He had 1.5 sacks, and their whole team is up and down. They have some very good players. I know they lost one of the best defensive backs a few weeks ago, Ray Buffalo, right? So
yeah, right before they played New England in that real windy game.
Right. Now, I guess there's no Monday night game. There's only one game tonight.
No, this was it. That game just started, Chargers and Raiders, which should be a good one too.
My son called me. He said, Dad, did you hear about the game tonight? I go, well, I know whoever wins gets in. He goes, yeah, but if they tie, they both get in.
There's some incentive.
Yeah. So that's interesting. So, Ray, I just want your opinion as far as Zach Wilson today. Or is it would you give him like an incomplete because of what he had to face?
I wouldn't give it incomplete, but I'm also not going to bash him because let's face it, our patchwork offensive line went up against the best defense in the NFL, and you saw why, because they can pressure from all angles. Um, that's why I'm so upset with LaFleur, and that he doesn't have some kind of game plan that kind of tries to counteract all that speed. And I'm not saying it's easy, let's face it, you're facing a team with a bunch of backups, including at pretty much every position, receiver, whatever. So I thought at times when they protect in the first half, especially, they protected Zach, and he made some plays, but you know, could he have done better under pressure? Yeah, there were a few times he, like I say, he tried to extend the play too much. Should have just dumped it.
I thought his best passes were the touchdown to Keelan Cole, the
That was
pass
beautiful.
on, I guess it was third down to Tariq Black,
Yeah,
which was a
yeah,
nice pass, but there just weren't that many passes. I know uh, Croft dropped another pass.
yeah,
He should have had. I thought Tariq Black also should have had that low pass, which he dropped. Jameson Crowder made a nice catch. I think it was the first reception of the day. It was a low
yeah,
pass. It was
yeah.
beautiful. And the one thing I'll say about Zach, which I noticed, Ray, is, and I don't know if it's more he's getting into a comfort zone. It seems that he's starting to pick his spots where to throw to the receiver.
Hmm.
If you remember the first half of the year, my biggest complaint was even when he made completions, he was never leading the receiver.
Yeah.
It was either right at his body or behind him.
Behind him, high,
Right.
low. He was
Yeah.
bouncing passes.
Right. But now you see him make some of these low passes and the receiver catches them.
Yeah,
Uh, Crowded today, and I know what's his name, Barrios did it the other day. It was probably one of his
yeah,
nicest passes of the year
yeah,
on third down. I think he's maturing. I think that he's got a long way to go. Boomer Esiason has always said the biggest jump for a quarterback is from their first year to the second year.
hmm,
The Jets have the fourth and 10th pick. I think they have to go after an offensive lineman.
they have to.
One of the names I keep hearing is Tyler Lindenbaum on the internet. That's who Jet fans love. The center, I
Is that
guess,
the one,
is from
Iowa?
Iowa.
Iowa, yeah.
Yeah. And I love the receivers, but they're going to need an edge pass rusher too. So listen, unfortunately, it's the last game of the year, but fortunately, the NFL goes 12 months a year now. And I really believe what Ralph said. I think that they have to keep this coaching staff together. I don't want to see them starting to play musical chairs. There's no coaches that I really don't like right now. And I think that Salah has these players playing hard for him. Even though the Jets lost, what is it, 13 games, you could see not only the development of Zach Wilson, but you could see them playing harder the second 8 or 9 games of the year than the first ones. And if you look at it, the Jets were playing harder and more competitive as they were losing players. So the talent level was going down. And I mentioned on the last podcast with you and Ralph that the Jets lead the league in the percentage of their salary cap on the injured reserve, which really is unbelievable when you think
Yeah,
about it.
yeah.
That, in addition to a rookie coach, a rookie offensive coordinator, rookie defensive coordinator, rookie quarterback, the things
And a
look
rookie defensive backfield, basically.
right. A young defensive backfield, which I thought played well. And I thought Michael Carter had second play had a few nice plays today.
Yeah.
I think things are trending the right way. And the other thing I'll say too is this team, this coaching staff, and I wanted to touch on it last time. The Jets coaching staff, they're not afraid to get rid of a guy they don't think is a good player or fits the system, or just bench him. And I'll give you a few examples. They got rid of Wes Austin
Hmm.
and a lot of people complaining, me included, and it was the right move to do. All right. They benched Denzel Mims. We were all crying at the beginning of the year. What are you doing? This guy is one of the most talented receivers in the league. And when he gets on sporadically, you see that the guy is totally lost. That was the right thing to do also. Yesterday, they got rid of Shaq Lawson. Just
Yeah,
put
that
him
was
on
a money
waivers.
move, but that was fine.
Yeah, that was the right thing to do. The only thing Shaq Lawson did was make that tipped interception against the Cincinnati Bengals, help win the game. But other than that, I think he had one other
Didn't do
tip and
much.
maybe a sack. He didn't do a thing all year. So I really believe this coaching staff knows what they're doing. I've heard, though, they might be at odds over Mekhi Becton with the front office, but we'll see how that plays out. I'm
Yeah.
not his biggest fan, but I'm hoping he comes
No, but you
around.
can't give up on them yet.
No,
So you gotta see what happens next year.
yeah,
And
you got to see what happens. But all in all, it was 27-10. And Ray, I want to thank you. We're going to continue doing these podcasts, getting the draft. But thanks for being loyal every game. It's a tough year to do it. There were
so
times,
yeah,
uh, ladies and gentlemen, there were times where Ray and I would talk off the air saying, boy, these podcasts are getting hard to do. I mean,
well, yeah,
we went through the period of 3 or 4 games with that defense. They were
yeah.
running through that defense like they were made of cotton candy. It was
Well, obviously, I
unbelievable.
mean, when we're winning, it's fun to talk about.
Oh yeah,
And after a while, you're coming on after getting killed and looking terrible. So games like this, even I don't mind,
right.
talking about as much because at least, like I think we said it earlier in the year, at least be competitive. Don't look like you're just, they played that second time they played the Patriots when they played who was it, Indianapolis, and they're getting blown out by halftime, and I'm just like this
Right.
isn't this doesn't look like a team that's ready to make the next step. And I'll agree with you. I don't want to change the coaches either. As much as I gripe about LaFleur, he was a rookie coach. He had his moments, but it seems to me like his moments are when things are going well. I want to see him uh, take a step in terms of his play calling when things aren't going well to change things up and kind of maybe jumpstart the offense. But that has to do with talent too. I mean, I think, you talked about the draft. I think the three big positions I think we need is a top-notch DB, a top-notch receiver, and a top-notch offensive lineman. And if possible, an edge rusher. If Carl Lawson comes back like last year, then maybe, that we might get lucky and, have one. But if they drafted one and we have two, that'll be awesome.
Ray, I was going just so you're talking about the defensive line. If people don't realize how important putting pressure on, if you
Oh,
look at last week, Tom Brady, and this week, it is so
yeah.
important to get pressure on these
Yeah.
guys. I mean, look, Josh Allen did well when they did get pressure rolling out. He's a dynamic player, but when you have these quarterbacks just sitting there,
Yeah.
they could do what there isn't
Just sitting
a
there waiting for somebody to come open.
yeah, and I don't care if it's Darrell Revis. They can't keep up with
Oh,
these receivers for like 5, 6, 7 seconds. It's almost
yeah.
impossible. You have to get an edge pass rusher. It's a must. You
Yeah.
need another offensive lineman. I agree with you. I like another wide receiver, and if they get a defensive back, I mean, those are the first 2 rounds right there. So
Yeah.
we'll see how it goes. So, hey Ray, I want to thank you for coming on so quick
No problem.
do the show. So, anything else you want to add before we sign off? We're going to be on like in a couple
No.
of weeks, probably.
Yeah. Get our stuff together for a end of year show and kind of
Right.
go over all the high and low points
Yep.
and talk about the stuff we need. And,
Yep.
well,
We'll do
let's
that.
look forward to next year. I think the draft could be a game changer for us. We can say that a lot, but you don't even, as bad as we were, you don't usually have, what is it, 7 picks in the first 4 rounds is what we got, I
Something
think.
like that, whatever it is.
Something
And I,
like
and
that.
I
So
think, and I think Joe Douglas is going to leverage that second
I'm
pick.
hoping.
Get
Well,
it.
maybe, and that'll be okay too.
See. All
I'm
right.
I'm just looking forward to trying to expand on the good parts of this year.
Right. And next year we're going to get Ray Cliff to come to New York to watch a game too. I went to Ohio this year.
Yeah.
All right. For Ray Clifford and Marty Shupeck and Jets Rewind, jetsrewind.com. And I want to thank all you fans. We'll be back on the air before you know it.